Welcome, dear friends. You're watching the Ruslan Belov channel, and today, May 5th, 2026, we have a great deal to discuss. It's been an exceptionally packed day. Active flashpoints across several sections of the front, a critical situation in the Strait of Hormuz, and growing uncertainty surrounding the Ukrainian ceasefire. Before we get started, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel or hit the notification bell, please do it right now. YouTube systematically suppresses the reach of content like this. The algorithm doesn't show our videos even to people who've been subscribed for a long time. The bell is the only guaranteed way to receive notifications. Every view, every like, every subscription is real, tangible support for this channel. Thank you to everyone who has already done that, and a special thanks to our sponsors and everyone supporting the channel through Super Thanks. You make it possible for us to keep working and bring you analysis every single day. Now, let's get to it. No filler, no fluff today. Just facts, analysis, and straight talk. Myropillia. Flags, staged footage, and the information war. We'll start on the Sumy section of the front, where today a full-blown media battle erupted over the status of the town of Myropillia. The Ukrainian side published a video showing 3 Ukrainian servicemen raising the Ukrainian state flag in the northeastern part of the city. In the video, the soldiers explicitly state, "Today is May 4th, 2026, and Myropillia is under the full and confident control of the armed forces of Ukraine." At first glance, the fact is recorded, the date is stated, the flag has been raised. But don't rush to conclusions. Let me remind you of the background. Just a few days ago, the Russian Ministry of Defense officially announced that Myropillia had come under full Russian control. But here's the telling detail. The Northern Troops Group never published a single piece of footage, not a single geolocation to confirm that control. This immediately raised doubts among part of the expert community. And so today the Ukrainian side publishes its answer. But let's examine this video carefully, because under close analysis, it raises serious questions. The recording consists of 2 entirely separate episodes. The first is a close-up shot, 3 clean, well-groomed Ukrainian soldiers in gleaming helmets, reading out the date and declaring control over the city. The second episode is drone footage, supposedly showing the very building where the soldiers are raising the flag. The problem is that when you compare these 2 episodes, the discrepancies are immediately obvious. In the close-up shot, the building behind the soldiers has light-colored tiling running from the base of the facade all the way up to the roofline, right up to the eave. The shutters on both sides of the soldiers are painted blue or dark swamp green. Now look at the drone footage. The building there is completely different. The lower part of the facade is white. The upper section, starting from windowsill level, is red. The shutters on the left are indeed blue, but on the right they are white. 2 fundamentally different color schemes, 2 different buildings. The conclusion is unambiguous, and I'm prepared to state this with 99% confidence. What we're looking at is a splice of 2 separate recordings made in 2 different locations. The building that was geolocated in the Myropillia area, it may well be there, but the soldiers filmed in close-up are at an entirely different location, presumably somewhere in the Sumy area or another safe point. The date, May 4th, may have been spoken there, while the building footage is archival material from an earlier period. This does not mean that Ukrainian forces have completely lost Myropillia. It means that neither side has yet provided ironclad proof of control over the city. The map on this section remains unchanged. We do not adjust positions based on questionable material. We are waiting for an official response from the Northern Troops Group and for additional confirmation. If a rebuttal follows, it will at least mean the Russian side acknowledges the situation requires clarification. Krasnopillia. Direction: Ryazny nearly taken. Krasnopillia is next. Moving south to the Krasnopillia section, where highly significant developments have occurred over the past 2 days. As recently as May 3rd, the map here looked different. On May 4th, information arrived that Russian units had succeeded in substantially improving their positions in the central and eastern parts of the settlement of Ryazny. Today, May 5th, the picture becomes even clearer. A series of video recordings have emerged confirming a confident Russian military presence in both the northern and central parts of Ryazny, as well as in the area of the local farms. the footage shows a significant concentration of Russian armor and personnel entering the settlement. Notably, Ukrainian drone operators are simultaneously striking individual Russian positions with FPV drones, which is itself indirect evidence of Russian forces operating within the settlement's boundaries. On this basis, it can be stated with reasonable confidence: the greater part of Ryazny has de facto come under Russian army control. The offensive on this axis is developing, and the logic of what's happening is entirely readable. The Russian side is straightening the front line along the perimeter of 4 settlements: Ryazny, Taratutin, Novodmitrivka, and Pokrovka. Once control over this line is established, the next inevitable target will be Krasnopillia, a strategically vital settlement southeast of Sumy. The assault on Krasnopillia is expected to come from at least 4 directions simultaneously, which will significantly complicate the defensive task for Ukrainian forces. The battle for this city is imminent. Kharkiv and Kupansk, quiet. No significant changes have been recorded on the Kharkiv and Kupansk sections of the front over the past 24 hours. The front line is stable. Active combat operations are not underway. Monitoring continues. Sloviansk direction, bridgehead on the Siversky Donets, and the encirclement of the agglomeration. We move now to one of the most dynamically evolving zones, the Sloviansk direction. Let me recap the chronology we've been tracking over the past several days. On May 3rd, information emerged that Russian units had crossed the Siversky Donets River and established a foothold on the eastern outskirts of the settlement of Prishib. On the Ukrainian bank of the river, in the area between Tatyanivka and Prishib. Based on footage published at that time, the map was adjusted accordingly. A day later, data arrived confirming Russian positions had also been established on the eastern outskirts of Tatyanivka. Yesterday's map update reflected that development as well. Today, a number of reliable pro-Russian sources report the following: Prishib is now under full Russian army control, while Tatyanivka remains under partial control. This bridgehead on the western bank of the Siversky Donets is not merely a tactical gain, it is a potential launching point for a strike capable of reshaping the entire front configuration on this axis. Here's why this matters. Taking into account the geography of the area, the settlements of Sosnov, Sviatohirsk, Bohorodishne, Sidorov, and Studenok, it becomes clear it is precisely from this bridgehead that a strike becomes possible along the M03 highway, from the north towards Sloviansk. This is the classic logic of encirclement. The Russian army appears to be setting the conditions to take the Sloviansk-Costantinovka agglomeration in a pincer, applying simultaneous pressure from the north and from other directions. If this plan is realized, it will represent one of the most significant operational maneuvers across the entire Ukrainian theater of war. East Sloviansk direction, river crossing and the threat to the rear. Another point on the map deserving separate attention: the East Sloviansk direction. Here, fundamental changes occurred over the past 24 hours. As recently as yesterday, May 4th, the map in this area looked different. Today, May 5th, it has undergone a very substantial update, and here is the basis for that. The Russian side published footage in which several servicemen report that the settlement of Piskunivka has at least partially come under Russian army control. The footage clearly shows a Russian soldier planting a flag in the eastern part of the settlement. These are entirely new recordings. Prior to today, not a single piece of video evidence of Russian forces in this area existed. The same publication includes another episode: several Russian state flags and servicemen moving through rubble. The flag-planting episode was successfully geolocated on the map. Based on this material, the conclusion is Russian forces have succeeded in crossing the river on this section, and the process of consolidating new positions is currently underway. The strategic significance of this maneuver is difficult to overstate. This is, in effect, a strike into the rear of the Ukrainian grouping concentrated in the area of Kriva Luka and Ryalexandrivka. As the situation develops further, Russian forces will have the opportunity to strike toward Ryalexandrivka from the north and northwest, and toward Mykolaiivka from the northeast. This opens the prospect of establishing physical control over the logistical supply routes of the Ukrainian grouping. Cutting off supply is the first step toward the collapse of the front line on this section. Costantinovka. First day with no changes. The Costantinovka direction, and here, for what is perhaps the first time in days, the map requires no adjustments. That is, in its own way, a noteworthy fact. A reminder, according to yesterday's data, approximately 28% of Costantinovka's territory is already under Russian army control. Slightly to the northwest, in the Druzhkivka area, Russian aviation continues delivering air bomb strikes against the positions and deployment sites of Ukrainian units. Dobrailia direction. Tree lines and geolocations. On the Dobrailia direction, small but confirmed adjustments are recorded in the corridor between Hryshyn and Pokrovsk. Several geolocations have verified the presence of Russian units along the tree lines in this area. Progress here is moderate but systematic. Zaparisia. Heavy fighting under an information blackout. On the Zaparisia direction, the map is not changing, but this in no way implies an absence of activity. According to available data, intense meeting engagements continue in this area. Both sides of the conflict are deliberately holding back information. Neither the Russian nor the Ukrainian side is publishing fresh material on troop movements or combat outcomes. The information blackout on this section appears to be mutual and, in all likelihood, deliberate. We're watching and waiting for confirmed data. Ceasefire. Ukraine announced it. Russia is silent. Before moving to the Iran story, a few words on the diplomatic backdrop. Only hours remain before Ukraine's declared unilateral ceasefire takes effect. The Ukrainian side has made the corresponding announcement. However, as of the time this material was prepared, the Russian Ministry of Defense had not responded in any form. Not a word, not an official document. It's possible that by the time you're watching this, the situation will have changed. We'll keep tracking. Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. Washington's hesitation and a sinking tanker. Now, to Iran, where a story is unfolding that has a direct bearing on the global oil market, and therefore on the economy of virtually every country on Earth. Let's start with oil. Over the past 24 hours, crude prices experienced a sharp but short-lived collapse, at one point falling to around $90 per barrel. The trigger was a high-profile announcement by Donald Trump that the United States Navy would escort oil tankers transiting the Strait of Hormuz. The initiative was branded Operation Freedom. The market interpreted this as direct military convoy protection and immediately reacted with falling prices. The panic turned out to be premature. Almost immediately, it became clear that Trump meant something entirely different. The American fleet present in the region would be available to consult any commercial vessel wishing to transit the strait. What exactly consultation means was not clarified, either by the White House or the Pentagon. The practical utility of this offer is highly questionable. Does an oil tanker pull up alongside an aircraft carrier and request clearance to proceed? And what does it receive in response? A verbal "the way is clear." No physical escort, no real protection, just the symbolic presence of American warships on the horizon. The market quickly reached the same conclusion, and prices rebounded. Meanwhile, several oil tankers, emboldened by the declared presence of the American fleet, went ahead and attempted to transit the Strait of Hormuz. At their own risk, the result was catastrophic. Iran struck the vessels, and this time it was not a routine warning strike causing moderate damage. According to available information, one of the targeted tankers, belonging to the United Arab Emirates, sustained damage so severe that it will in all likelihood sink. Footage of the incident was captured from the deck of another oil tanker sailing in close proximity. Iran is demonstrating absolute consistency and firmness in its blockade of the strait. Tehran has committed to its position, and for now shows no intention of backing down. And what of the United States? Washington is displaying hesitation, and the reasons are not hard to understand. Any military analyst can see the problem. Even if an American destroyer positions itself ahead of a tanker and another takes up station behind it, that will not stop an Iranian missile from finding its target. The air defense and missile defense systems aboard American warships are genuinely among the most advanced in the world. That is not in dispute. But no air defense system in history has achieved a 100% intercept rate against a massed strike, especially one executed with multiple missile types flying at varying altitudes and on different trajectories. The real question is whether Washington is prepared for a direct military confrontation with Iran in order to protect the oil shipments of private commercial entities. All the indicators suggest the answer, for now, is no. The situation in the Strait of Hormuz remains explosive. Any new incident could rapidly shift the balance, both on the oil market and in the broader geopolitical landscape. We will continue watching closely. That's all for today. It's been a full day with no shortage of developments. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. It genuinely helps us keep working and stay connected with you. Leave a like on the video if you found the material useful. Until the next episode, take care of yourselves and all the best.